Okay, and if he didn't, we were gonna have a failure to communicate. Okay. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I know life happens. If nobody knows that, I know that life happens. And so before I get started on my spiel, and I think Curtis has already given it all. Of course, I told him what to say. He just said, "That's a lot, Mama." My grandmama used to say, "It's a poor dog that won't wag his own tail." And so I struggled with today, and so my cousins know I struggled with today because I am not typically, and those of you who know me know that I am not typically one to wag my own tail. But I thought it fitting because I've had a month. And actually I've had a year. Actually, I've had 55 years. It's been a long time. And so I thought that it would only be fitting that I take the day and wag my own tail. So I hope you guys don't mind that I wag my own tail today. Okay. So before I do that, before I start wagging my tail, I want to acknowledge people. I want to say thank you to my special guest, Dr. Audrey Ann Moses. Thank you so much for driving all the way here from South Carolina and her family. Thank you so much. Dr. Audrey Ann is I have a lot of favorite people, but she is one of my favorite people. She is one of those that will call me just to say, "How are you doing?" Yeah. Sometimes you do so much and people see so much, they forget to ask how you doing. They see what you do and they just say, "She good." Yeah. They don't know the half of it. They don't know what I do through my not good. So thank you, Dr. Audrey Ann. I want to also acknowledge my sponsors. Here's the insurance lady. ASN Business Solutions Incorporated. Shanita Dawson Uguaguia. I'm messing up her last name. She'd know I always do. MLT Network. Thank you, Dr. Kevin Vaughn. I Am International Magazine. I love them. Edson and Associates, my new client, Dr. Timothy Edson. Navy Federal Credit Union, y'all. Yeah. Dip and Whisk, that was my daughter. Compliments of the desserts that are in the back. Pressed by JoJo. Courtesy Cuts and Styles by my son Curtis. Smooth Did It. And SM Events and Designs. So thank you guys so very much. Thank you so very much. I also want to take time to thank my collaborators, present and past collaborators, because as we change, things change. People change. Partners change. And that's okay as we grow. Some grow past us. Some we're a little slow and we don't grow. But at the same time, for me, I have to move in a way that's comfortable for me. Okay. So I want to thank my collaborators. Lachelle Atkins, America's Supermom, she couldn't be here. Dr. Vaughn was on the phone when Curtis was talking because we found out she was in a car accident last night. So he was just checking to make sure she's okay. Kevin Vaughn, of course, MLT Network. Let me just tell y'all quickly about Kevin Vaughn. I met him through a Zoom meeting. And from day one, he was like, "What can I do for you?" From day one, he was there at the first anniversary. Some of you guys were there at the first anniversary event. And he has been there with PayPro V ever since. And I thank you so much for that. Zandra TV Network, Campground Publishing, GBW Publishing, the Bradford Group, the Diamond Factor, Listen Linda, CC's Inc., Trivia's Inspirational Radio, and Miss Inez Radio Show. So I want to thank you for everything that you guys done to help PayPro V Publishing. All right. All right. Uh-oh. You know, I saw this happening. That reminds me when Dion and I first met, it was at a party. We have a mutual friend, and at that party, and Anthony Wallace was there with me. At that party, it was so beautifully decorated. And yours truly, I got my plate, sat down, stepped on the tablecloth, and knocked everything over. Drinks, water, everybody, whoever had whatever, it fell over on them. We completely had to abandon the whole table and move somewhere else. Talk about embarrassing. Embarrassing, but such is life, right? And did I tell you I have a broke toe? Okay, so this is just not because it matched my dress. Okay. So, Pay Pro V Publishing. Pay Pro V means pain, progress, victory. Can you guys say that with me? Pain, progress, victory. Because I believe without pain, there is no progress, and without progress, there can be no victory. I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization. And I say that, I learned a lesson when I was on my dad had a talk show. And he used to love to invite me on there because my opinion is so different from his. And it makes for good radio. You know, when you're going back and forth with somebody, it makes for good radio. So his producer called me and was like, oh, you got to come back on. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I'm kind of done with being bossed around. There are some people that I will let boss me around. Some people, just a few people, I will let boss me around. My children think they're one of them, some of the few, but some people I'll let boss me around. But anyway, I would, what was I saying? Family. Okay, so.
Radio and family?
Yes. So when I got on, the producer introduced me as James Park's daughter. And I'm like, what? So all of this, everybody else gets this fabulous introduction, and she introduces me as Sergeant James Park's daughter. So I sent her a text, and I said, I'm more than that. She said, you had the mic. I said, oh, okay, that's how we do it. So that was that. I didn't need to be taught that lesson again. So from that point on, when I have a moment to introduce myself, you're going to hear it. My name is Laquita Parks, and now it's Dr. Laquita Parks. And I am the CEO and founder of Pay Pro V Publishing. Pay Pro V means pain, progress, victory, because I believe without pain, there's no progress, and without progress, there can be no victory. So I absolutely enjoy helping people take their stories from a thought to a realization. Yeah. That's who I am. That's the story of my life, and I absolutely love it. So through the years, there have been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of ups and downs. I've had some really, really good times. I've had some really ugly times, and I've had some hurtful times. I've been stabbed in the back and in the front at the same time. And Kevin Vaughn again taught me a beautiful lesson. I remember having a conversation. I was like, I felt blindsided. I was like, this happened, and I cried. You remember that? I mean, I cried. It took me weeks to get over that because I trusted the circle. And Kevin Vaughn said to me, he introduced me to the 4 agreements. You guys know what the 4 agreements are. He introduced me to the 4 agreements, and it's something that I should have known. But I'm a trusting person. So I learned that I don't have any control over people. I don't have any control over what people say. I don't even have control over people. If I introduce you to somebody that was good to me, I have no control over that. Yep. So all I can do is control me. All I can do is be a person of my word. And life happens, and sometimes that word gets long. Sometimes a deadline gets missed. Sometimes we have to, because life is life. Life happens. But I'm gonna always say, this happened, I'm gonna own it. See, I don't believe in, rocking the boat and tipping the boat over without being there to help turn the boat back upright and bail the water out if we have to. So that's who I am. So in 5 years, I have had an opportunity to work with some amazing, amazing people. I have cried through some stories. Now, you guys see this table over here. How many of you know that this is just not even a drop in the bucket? Wow. There are a lot of you in here whose books are not even on that table because I didn't have any copies of them. This is not even a drop in the bucket. I'm going to share something. And I was going to do this as a trivia, but I think I want to do it now because it's impactful. And it's impactful because when I saw it myself, I was shocked. So my son used to say all the time, how many books have you published? Anthony Wallace says all the time, how many books have you published? And for a long time, after year 2, I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Somebody else would say, I think Kevin Vaughn said, Doc, how many books have you published? And it's like, I don't know. I think it's been, 75. I think it's been over 100. I know it's been over 150. So I just started saying, if you go on social media, all you see is 100 plus, 150 plus. So I took the time, and I sat down one day, and I went back to day one. And I counted, and one of my friends even said, "Oh, LaQuita, how many books have you published?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Well, ask ChatGPT." I said, "ChatGPT don't know me." He was like, "ChatGPT know you." I said, okay. So I went to ChatGPT and said, "How many books has Pay-Per-View published since 2020? And it gave me the answer it gave me. I was like, they lying. So I went back to day one, to the very first book that I published. And how many of you guys know, I don't say book, published books. I say book what? Projects, right? I say book projects because they're projects for me. A book can be an ebook. It could be an ebook, a paper cover, and a hardcover. It could be an ebook, a paper cover, a hardcover, and an audio book. So that's 4 projects in one. And sometimes it can be a consultation. Sometimes it can be a book design. Sometimes it could be a whole lot of that. But we touch stories that you guys will never know because I do it for other companies. You guys heard me shout out some other publishing companies, right? Because some of them have started reaching out to me to help them tell their stories for their clients. And one lady called me and said, "Hey, can I hire you?" I said, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I have my own company. I don't want to work for you. I enjoy what I do for the people that I do it for." So when I sat down, it took me a whole day because I wanted to make sure my numbers were right. And she has my phone. I was so blown away by it, I had to go back again and recount the numbers. So I'm going to give you guys a second to guess how many books do you think I have actually publishing projects? How many do you think?
I read 400.
400, not quite, but you know that's a dream. Not quite 400.
250 down.
250. You got 250. Somebody else.
325.
325. It's a little lower. It's in the 250 range, but it's a little lower.
272.
272.
240.
240. Anybody else?
215.
What'd you say? 285.
258.
So yours
220. Who
again.
said 220?
Yeah, he said
Okay.
215.
Who said 215? Okay. Anybody else?
220, 25.
250.
You don't get to play. 230.
218.
Okay.
I'm saying 259.
So, Miss Arlene, yes, I have published 232 book projects. Now that includes book projects and anthologies. Those are projects that I've done. Now, who can guess how many total authors I have worked with since 2020? That means through anthologies, just anthologies and solo book projects, not interviews, not because I've interviewed people who I didn't publish for. I've been on projects that I didn't publish. I was a part of them. I didn't count those in the number because I want to be fair. Who can guess how many authors I have worked with to help them take their stories from a thought to a realization? And I'm going to give you a hint. 232 is a starting point.
I was gonna say 480.
400.
I'm staying with 400.
400, 480. Anybody else?
420.
Anybody else?
415.
Anybody else? Anybody? She said 500. Anybody else?
520. 520.
505.
Yes, she said.
425.
No, 500 was good. Go stay there.
600.
575.
515.
525.
LaShawn said 575. I've published I've worked with 582 authors to help them tell their stories. And I had to go and count the number again because I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I started remembering people saying, LaQuita, how do you do that? I don't know. But I do know it's not me. It's the grace of God. So as I've gone through this process, it's been a journey. It's been a physical journey. It's been an emotional journey. It's been a mental journey. I've worked with a lot of people. I've cried. I've worked with people where I have had to call them. I'm reading their story. Anthony Wallace was one of those. I was reading his story one day, and I called him, and I was like, did this happen? Is this true? There are some stories that hurt your heart. And then there are some stories like LaShawn Fernandez that make you understand that there is a God.
Yes.
And I don't know who would think that there isn't.
Right.
So I've worked with stories that have been funny. I've worked with stories that have made me angry. I've had some hot mess clients. In the 5 years of PayPro V Publishing, I've only had to tell one client that she needed to find somebody else to work with.
That's good.
Only had to tell one client, because most of you know, if I say, Kimberly Raven, what do I say? Do you trust me? John Dewberry, do you trust me?
Oh, yeah.
Don Martinez, do you trust me? Nicole Scott, do you trust me? So if you, Dr. Audra Ann, do you trust me? And I say that to my clients because, Sharon Smith, do you trust me? I say that to my clients, and I tell them, if you don't trust me, Ina, do you trust me? The process won't work. It won't work, because my process might be different. There are a lot of different publishers in the world, and they have their own way of doing things. When I first started, I Am Magazine has been a partner from day one. They have been a tremendous blessing, and they have allowed me to be a sponsor of their magazine. But I remember when I first started the Global Connect Network, I'm gonna sit, guys. When I first started the Global Network, we did an interview, and there was a lady who was a publisher, and I was new, and I said, wow, can you show me? Because when you're new in something, you want somebody to show you, you want a mentor. I said, can you show me, or can you help me? And she said, oh no, you can't be a part of what I'm doing, because we're competitors. And I thought, ouch. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So I was talking, and a part of me thought, well, maybe it's because I'm black. But I don't buy into all that, because PayPro V Publishing works with everybody. Yeah. So the Yadira, who is the CEO of I Am Magazine, I shared that story with her, and I said, I was kind of heartbroken, because I'm like, well, where am I go if I can't get nobody to help me? She said, you know what? She said, I am a life coach. She said, you see how those life coaches there are in the world? She said, there are 1 million life coaches in the world. She said, there are publishers. There are going to be more publishers. She said, but none of them are going to be you. None of them will do what you do. They won't. And she and I revisited that conversation last week, and she said, that lady that told you that is no longer in business. And I said, I noticed. So I have been, I've had people to tell me in 6 months I was going to be looking for a real job. And I'm like, this not a real job.
Yeah.
This not a real job. Like, I'm not even in the military. I do more before 6 a.m. than most people do all day. And some of you guys know it, because I be on the phone with you. So I'm like, you count me out before I get started. So as going through the process, it has been difficult. I've called my children. My youngest daughter just left, and I call her straight no chaser, because whatever comes up comes out. And I said to her, I'll ask the question, and she's like, do you like this dress? I had this dress on. I tried it on. I said, what do you think of the dress? She said, do you like it? She was like, don't ask anybody their opinion. And she went on and on. And I was like, well, dog, I just wanted to ask how it was. So, but the lesson is, I want to see what people think, but it's not my defining movement. And knowing that and understanding that is, when we go through things, going through what I've gone through with PayPro V Publishing, it has not stopped me from doing what I do, because I truly believe that 100% of everybody has a story. And our stories, especially now, everything that's going on in the world, our stories matter. So I truly believe that we have to tell our stories. I have learned a lot. I can look at every person in here and I know your story. I know your story. I remember your story. I remember your book. I know the name of your book. I know your stories. Whether it was an autobiography, whether it was a Christian fiction, whether it was an anthology, I know your story and I remember your stories. I remember. I haven't seen my friend Gwen in a long time, but I remember your story and Suited for Service. Suited to Serve for the anthology for veterans. So your stories matter, and I believe God has gifted me with the ability to help people tell their stories because I believe your story matters. It's not about the money. Rising above narcissistic abuse, that blew me away because I was like, wow, I was in a narcissistic relationship. I didn't even know its signs. So I've learned lessons. I learned how sometimes we live through our children and they are our world, and we have to realize that they got their life and we got to get our life. So I learned that through Dreamer. I learned that. And Miss April, even though it was a Christian fiction, I love April and I love her grandmom in the story and how it I'm thinking it's going to be a book 3. Because I want to know what happened to the preacher and grandmama. Okay, I'm just saying, what happened to April mama? Where'd they go? What happened to the kids? I'm just saying, what happened to her? And Brandy, I'm waiting. We're waiting. So in 20 years, I'm speaking that into existence. In 5 years, we have published anthologies. We have published children's books. We have published personal memoirs. We have published devotionals. We have published poetry books. We have published, and they were true stories, but I call them horror stories because they hurt your heart. We have done a lot to help people, and we have produced multiple, not just Amazon #1 bestsellers. We've produced international bestsellers. An interesting experience I had with Ina when we were doing her bestseller campaign. Something was going. It's like, okay, she was like, this something ain't right here. Something ain't right. And the next day, she was bestseller, international bestseller. And the funny thing, and I didn't share this with you, I did a bestseller for my new book, my solo book, By God's Design. When I looked at the numbers, and I know how to do a bestseller campaign, but I'm more concerned with people reading the story. When I went to bed, my numbers were like 17,000. I was like number 2,000 and something number. And when I looked at it, I said, you know what? I'm not watching these numbers. And I said, you know what, God, I want people to read the story. I don't care. I went to bed and I noticed somebody did a review, and I went to check the review to see what it said, and it was a #1 bestseller. And I said, well, look at that. Look at that. So it has been such an amazing ride. It has been a beautiful ride. It has been scary sometimes. But I thank you guys for trusting me to help you tell your stories. I've worked with people, John Dewberry, who published before, and they didn't have such a good experience. I've worked with people who got their money taken. People took their money. And I don't need to know who. I never asked. I don't want to know who. Yeah. But I do what I can to help. I clean up a lot of people's mess. A lot of people's mess. LaShawn had her story. Looked like 2 people had wrote her story, but we figured it out, and her story became a bestseller. Just had her book signing last Friday. So as we go through the next phase of PayPro Publishing, there will be fun things. There'll be some changes. You'll see some changes. What you won't see is us taking your story from a thought to a realization. If you have a story inside of you, and I know that you do, if you feel compelled that you want to share your story, then share your story. Share your story. You don't have to publish it if you don't want to, but share your story. Leave a legacy for people who care about your story. And my son said to me one day, he was like, Mama, if you never publish another book, you have made a difference. Yeah. And so I want to be the difference to make a difference. And that's my whole thing. I'm not a goody because, I got skeletons in my closet too. And I've been through some things and done some things that only God knows. And only God will know. Because what's in my closet ain't your business. Okay, all right. But I'm glad that God loves me and I know who he is. So tell your stories. Tell your stories. I'm looking for you all to share your story. I'm looking around the room and just about everybody, I'm still looking for sweet potatoes in the bucket, Darlene. I hadn't forgotten. Tamika, you got a story. You got to share your story. Share your story. I want to, one other thing, there have been some I'm just kind of remembering my list. There have been a lot of accolades. We've received a lot of praise, awards, recognitions, and I appreciate the accolades because there are some people who need that label. I'm not one that needs that label, but there are some people who need that label because, believe it or not, I have people that ask me, well, how many books have you sold, or how many books have your author sold? They've sold books.
Yeah.
My whole thing is, do you have a story? If you're looking to get with a company who has sold 10,000 books, well, I can count every